All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I think that you can all hear me. I hope so. Otherwise, please give a sign. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar. So we've set up this webinar because actually we've been receiving a lot of positive signs. So a lot of you already downloaded your letter of acceptance, which is of course very, very nice. I think we will have a big group of students joining us next year. So we're very much looking forward to that. But in order to be well informed about how next year will look like, we would like to give you the latest information that we received regarding the start of our academic year, regarding COVID situation here in Belgium. So that is why we set up this webinar. Going back to my slides. Voila. So who's present today? I think the students that attended one of our previous webinars already know us by now, but I'm Kim. I'm the program manager of the Master in Business Economics and the Master in Economic Policy. Today present is also Celine. Celine is our marketing manager, and Christine is our administrative coordinator. So I think that a lot of you already had contact with one of us. So it's very nice that we can all welcome you here today. We have one special guest, and our special guest is one of our current students. And it's Erpan. Erpan is a student from the program Business Economics. You see him waving, so hi Erpan, thank you very much for joining us today. Erpan is not only a student in our Master in Business Economics program, he's also one of our student ambassadors. So some of you might have already chatted with Erpan, so you can chat with him via our website. He's currently finishing his master thesis, so that's the last thing he has to finish, and then he has his master degree in business economics ready. And he's currently also doing an internship. So I think he's quite busy, but we're very happy that he could make some time for us today. And later in this presentation, we will also ask him to share with you some of his insights, some insight information which might be very valuable for you. First of all, let's start with a little bit an insight in where you all come from. So as of today, we've made a little bit of an overview of all students and the countries, more specifically, of who downloaded the letter of acceptance. So you can see that we are widely present. Top countries, so the ones that have the most downloaded letters of acceptance for the moment are Pakistan, India, and Albania. And I think that Arpan is also from India, so he'll know that it's quite we have a lot of Indian students that are coming this direction, so it's very nice to see. But we've also received some insights that for the moment it's very busy at the registrar's office. So if you have sent your hard copy documents, and if you have not yet received a confirmation on that, it might be because there's a lot of documents and a lot of information coming in. So we are sure that in the coming weeks, the number of acceptances will go up. If you would have any urgent questions, you can of course contact us, but keep in mind that for the moment it's very busy, but that they are taking care of informing you as soon as possible. It might also be very interesting to get to know each other a little bit. That is why we created a Facebook group, and it might be very helpful to get in touch with other students via our Facebook group. So in the weeks to come, we will use it a little bit more frequently. So we will share more information with you via our Facebook group. And we will also make sure that we downsize the number of students in our Facebook group so that only the students that are accepted to study at our master programs are in there, which makes it a very good platform to network already a little bit before you actually get here. I wanted to go over a couple of things that are at this point in your application process quite important or quite interesting. And the first thing is especially important for students from outside the European Economic Area, and that is of course the visa application. We hope that if you received your letter of acceptance that you already started your application, as it is quite important to do so as soon as possible. Why? First of all, because due to COVID, we've seen last year that visa applications can have some delays. So it might be that, for example, some of the offices are closed in the country because of the COVID situation. And that is why we'd ask you to start your visa application process as soon as possible. Also because for some countries, it can take up a long time before everything is finished. We also got the instructions from our registrar's office that students should have started their application process before the 1st of September. Yeah. If you start later and if you're not able to come before the start of the academic year, your application will not be considered. So do make sure to start your visa application as soon as possible. You need a student visa, so a type D visa in order to come here and to study here. And there is a lot of information on this visa on the website. An important thing, if you would experience some issues with your visa, some delays, it's important that you contact us so that we are aware of your situation. The visa application process runs independently from the university. So that actually means that we cannot really interfere. But imagine that if there will be a long delay, then in that case, we can try to see how we can help you. So for example, last year, we've written some motivation letters for students to speed up the application process. And then there is the proof of sufficient means of subsistence. That's something that comes with your visa application as well. So you need to prove to the university that you have sufficient means to sponsor yourself in the upcoming academic year. And there are 3 ways of doing so. The first one is by proving that you have a scholarship. So as the results from the Mastermind scholarship already came true, I think that we have 2 students that are quite happy with the results, since 2 students from our master programs received a Mastermind scholarship, and they can use this in order to get their proof of solvency straight. The second method is a proof of solvency, which actually means that you actually now already pay a specific amount of money into a bank account here in Belgium, a bank account that is administered by the University of Antwerp. And once you're here in Belgium, you will receive monthly installments of this sum of money back. Yeah? So in that way, you can really prove that you have the financial means to sponsor yourself in the upcoming academic year. A third option is to work with an agreement for acceptance of financial responsibility, which actually means that you kind of work with a sponsor, someone that is paying the tuition fee or is kind of a guarantee for you in the upcoming academic year. And I think in last webinars, we also mentioned that the third possibility is harder to achieve. So it takes a serious investigation of your sponsor. And it also takes a while before everything is done. So we really prefer to work with the first or the second option to prove your sufficient means of subsistence. And what we're all looking forward to is the moment when you can enroll for our master programs. And that is from the 1st of July onwards. So in a little bit less than a month, you can enroll for the Master in Business Economics or the Master in Economic Policy. And enrollment, since we're still in a kind of COVID situation, it can be done completely or partly online. So through our website, you can enroll for our master programs. I put the link here, but we will send the presentation afterwards. So you will receive the presentation in a PDF file so that you can easily browse to the links yourself. If you enroll for a master program, it's like signing a contract and also making a commitment, of course. On the website, you can find a lot of information on the exact procedure of enrollment. So how will it look like? In the first steps, they want you to get all your documents ready. So do make sure that you have all the documentation that you need for your enrollment ready. And then you start with an online pre-registration. So you fill in a pre-registration file, and based on this information, our university will check whether they received your application, whether they already approved your application, whether you have your letter of acceptance ready. And then they will send you an enrollment contract. So in the third step, you'll need to sign the enrollment contract. And if you've done that, you will receive information on your student accounts, how you need to log into our Blackboard platform, and so on. In the fourth step, you need to pay your tuition fee. So you'll have to pay, depending, of course, on the country you're from, you will have to pay the tuition fee that is mentioned. And once you've paid your tuition fee, you'll have access to our study portal, CISA and Blackboard. And you can also start composing your study program and selecting the courses that you will take in the upcoming year. As you will see on the website, the online pre-registration form is not yet on the website, so it will only be visible from the 1st of July onwards. But there's also information for students if you would have any questions that you can directly contact the registrar's office so they can take it up with you. So once you've paid your tuition fee and once you've gone through the enrollment process, you can start composing your study program. And that is something that you can already start thinking about now. What you'll need to do is compose your complete study program, and that is very important. So you need to compose your study program already for the first and the second semester. That actually means that you need to fill a program for 60 ECTS credits. And that's especially important from students from outside the European Union, because if you have a student visa, you definitely need to enroll for the 60 credits in total. For the Master in Business Economics, that also means that you need to choose a major or a minor, which are actually kind of like the specialization areas of which you can choose. As you know, we have a lot of them. We have data science, we have strategy, we have accountancy, and so on. But we also made some clips with the professors in which they actually explain to you what the major or the minor is all about. So in preparation for the composing of your study program, you can already take a look there. And for economic policy, we work with 2 modules. So you can choose one of the two modules, and you can also find the course descriptions on the website, which can help you in making that decision already. Okay, so that is important information that you need to know before you enroll here at the University of Antwerp for one of our master programs. But we'd also like to share with you already some practical information. We received already some very interesting questions, so I think it's time to already cover some of these insights. Then we have, of course, the tuition fee. I already talked about it in the enrollment procedure. You have to pay your tuition fee. What you can also do is pay your tuition fee in installments. So that would mean that you don't have to pay your tuition fee all at once, but that you pay your tuition fee in separate installments. And that's especially interesting for students that might have experienced that the financial burden is a little bit too high. And in that case, you pay, for example, in 4 different installments during the year. Important here is that you have to apply to pay in installments. So it's not just a given, you have to apply for it via the help desk between the 1st of August and the 1st of November. So if you'd like to pay your tuition fee in separate installments, don't forget to apply via the help desk. Within our faculty, we can also grant a number of students a tuition fee reduction. So that would actually mean that for the students from outside the European Economic Area, they have a tuition fee of 5,800 euros. Well, for this group of students, we can reduce the tuition fee to 3,100 euros. There are a number of conditions. So as a student, you cannot have a master degree yet, so it should be your first master that you get here at the faculty. You have no other scholarship. You have a clear and profound motivation and a high standard of academic performance. If you meet these requirements, you can apply for a tuition fee reduction, and based on the number of applications that we have and on strong motivations, we will grant a limited amount of tuition fee reductions. The deadline to apply for a tuition fee reduction is June 30th, and we will also put the link here in the slide so that you have direct access to the application form. So keep in mind, it's at the end of this month that you can apply for a tuition fee reduction. We also have a scholarship here at the Flemish community, but that is for a specific group of students. It's students with a permanent residence permit for Belgium or a residence permit because of family reunification. Well, for these students with financial issues, there is a specific scholarship from the Flemish community. There is more information on the website Center voor Studenten, which is a kind of a Flemish website, but with English information. So if you would be in that situation, you can also check to receive more information. And now I come to an important aspect. Of course, if you are planning to study here in Antwerp next year, one of the things that you need to take care of is your housing. So you need to look for COT, as we call it, which is actually a student room or a dorm. So we call it a COT. And therefore, it's important to know that our main campus is located in Prinstraat 13 in Antwerp. So that's really actually the center of Antwerp, which would mean that you will be studying next year really in the center of Antwerp. So it's interesting to look for a COT here in the surrounding, for example. There are a lot of options. But it's important to know that our university doesn't have like dormitories or university housing. So you need to look on the private market, but there is a very big offer. And a lot of these offers are also, can you find on COTWeb? COTWeb is a website that we definitely recommend because on that website you have model lease contracts, which actually mean that it's very easy to sign a contract via COTWeb, and you also have rooms, student rooms with a green quality label. That actually means that these student rooms, that they are checked by the city of Antwerp, that they're on their fire safety, on their infrastructure, that everything is actually very qualitative, and that you're sure that you'll have a good COT next year. So that is why we advise you to work with COTWeb. There are also other information and other websites that you can use in order to look for a student room, but COTWeb is the one that we recommend you to use. Are you reluctant to rent a room in advance? You say like, I would rather go to Belgium and check some student rooms out myself physically in the first days that I'm there. You can also opt to stay in a youth hostel for the first days or the first weeks and then go and visit some student rooms. So that's also an option that you can follow. The price of a COT is a little bit dependent on what you're actually looking for. So if you look for a student room with a shared bedroom and a shared kitchen, you need to count on average 390 euros a month. But if you want your own private bathroom and your own private kitchen, it starts from 450 euros a month. I put here a map of the district of Antwerp. So the arrow is where we are. We are in the middle of Antwerp, in the center of Antwerp. And we recommend you to look for a COT in the neighboring areas. So the areas that you see like Ekeren, Merks and Deurne, they're all too far away. Try to focus really on the center of Antwerp, where you have a big offer, and that can be either in the center of Antwerp, it can also be in Berchem, for example. So the areas that are the closest located to our university. We also have international student housing department. So imagine if you would have any questions or any issues in finding a COT, it might be very interesting for you to contact also international student housing with any specific questions. And of course, we have one of our current students present here today. So maybe Arpan, can you explain a little how you find your student COT here in Antwerp?
Yes, sure. Am I audible? Yes. Okay, cool. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here for this session, and I would like to congratulate all the students who got their acceptance this year. So yes, about looking for a place, I would suggest you all to do it as soon as possible, because there are so many international programs in the University of Antwerp that usually the best places near the university get filled up quite easily. So I would suggest you to start looking on the websites and send emails to people who are the owners. Of course, the sooner you have your contract, the better it is, because then you can use that contract for your visa applications. So if you start right now, it will be much easier for you in the later stage. Also, there are various groups on Facebook. So if you look for like a room to rent in Antwerp or apartment in Antwerp, you'll find lots of groups on Facebook. So these are also, these also come in quite handy. So I would suggest you to do that as well. And it's not very difficult. The price range is usually, which is something that you can easily manage, and student housings are usually very good, and especially with the green label, as Kim suggested, these are the ones which are already certified from the university, and yeah, they are very good.
Yeah, and Arpan, which area is your student room? Where do you live now?
I was living in Antwerp Central, near the university, in fact, and now I moved to Kiel, which is a bit
Mhm.
further, but it's like, even with the bike, it's like 12 minutes or 15 minutes, not much.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And if
you
you
can
if you
always,
come, Mhm.
yes, sorry, yeah.
And if you come to campus, do you take the bike or do you take public
Yeah,
transport?
I take a bike. It's very easy, and it's you
Mhm.
can take a bike, and we have the spot near a university to keep the bike, so it's easy and convenient for me.
Mhm. Mhm. Sure,
And
definitely.
and the university is in a place wherein you can reach from any part of Antwerp with the public transport, so it's very easy in that case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Arpan.
Yeah. Uh,
I think what Arpan also mentioned, our university is very central in the city center, which actually means that you can easily reach it. We have this kind of Velo system in Antwerp where you can rent a bike for a whole year, and we have a lot of possibilities to position your Velo around the city campus. So a lot of opportunities to reach us. What I also wanted to talk with you about today is actually the city that you will be studying in. So you will be studying in Antwerp, and Antwerp is actually a very diverse city. So we have nearly 500,000 inhabitants here in Antwerp. Depending on where you're from, that might be a lot or that might be not a lot at all. So it depends a little on what you're used to. But we have 500,000 inhabitants. And which is interesting, inhabitants of 178 different nationalities. So that's quite a lot. And that's also something that you're experienced while you're walking here in Antwerp. So you see a lot of different nationalities. And that is also something that you see here at our university, and something that we think is very important. So diversity at our university is a very important aspect, and we try to be a very inclusive university where everyone has equal opportunities. At our university, we have a diversity team, and we also have a diversity plan, and each faculty has signed the diversity agreement and diversity plan to make sure that we try as much as possible to let everybody feel welcome here at our faculty and here at our university. And I also believe that the city of Antwerp, but also the rest of Belgium, is also a very safe city to live in. We're 17 in the Global Peace Index, for example, and we score very high in the Better Life Index that was published by the OECD. Just to give you an impression that it's actually a very nice city to live in. You can feel safe during the day, during the night. But this might be also something that I ask Arpan. Arpan, if you've lived here now for over a year, and so you
yes.
have some experience living in Antwerp, can you maybe share your experiences in this regard?
Yes, definitely. I believe a lot of students have a concern about the city, if it's safe enough or not. But trust me, the city is really cool. And in fact, as Kim mentioned it, it's really diverse. You see people from lots of nationalities here, and I'm sure you're going to make lots of friends when you arrive in the city. For me, it was a really wonderful experience because I fell in love with the city. Like within a week, I was going around places and meeting people. It was very nice. And yeah, because of corona, there were things that the life was not normal, as you can already imagine. But now that the things are being a bit more easy and the rules have been a bit more relaxed, the city is again picking up pace. So you will definitely enjoy your stay when you're here, and do not worry about the safety perspectives. It's really safe for everyone. You can go around at any time you want, and you can just be yourself. So from that perspective, the city is really good.
Thank you, Arpan. Maybe one last thing, one last practical thing, I should say, is our local language. So I already received a question about it, and I think it's very logical because Belgian structure isn't very logical. We have 3 official languages that are spoken here in Belgium, and I think it's important to know, like, Antwerp is located in Flanders, and in Flanders we speak Dutch. In the southern part of Belgium, we call it Wallonia, they speak French, and it's also a language that you hear very often in Brussels. So in Brussels, it's a combination of Dutch and French. And then we also have a very small German-speaking part. So students here from Germany, it's very nice that you come here, but speaking Germany in Antwerp, I don't think many people will understand. So that might be a little bit of an issue. So we have 3 official languages Here we speak Dutch, but very important to know is that most Belgians speak very good English. That is why, it's because we learn English at school. We also learn French at school. So also if you speak some French here in Antwerp, you will definitely, people will definitely understand you. And I received the question whether it's necessary to learn Dutch. And I think from my opinion, but we'll listen to Arpan also in a minute. In my opinion, learning Dutch is not necessary to live here for a year, because a lot of people speak English. So if you go to a shop, for example, or supermarket, they will definitely be able to help you out in English. But imagine that you say, like, I actually want to continue my career in Belgium after graduating, and I want to look for a job in Belgium. Well, in that case, I would advise you to learn Dutch or French, because that's a really big plus if you start looking for a job. There are some possibilities. At the University of Antwerp, we have Lingua Polis, which is our language institute. It's part of the university, and they offer courses in a lot of different languages, among others, Dutch, French, and German. We also have at the city of Antwerp different possibilities to learn a new language, and one of them is Atlas. And I'd like to mention Atlas here because next to learning Dutch, you can also follow an integration program in which you learn a lot about Belgian culture, Belgian values, and that actually helps you to integrate really in our culture. And also these programs, they're free of charge. So it's actually very interesting for you to also follow one of these programs if you're planning to stay in Belgium a little bit longer. Arpan, can you share, are you following the Dutch courses for the moment?
Yes, I'm at level 3, a B2
Okay,
now. Yeah.
great.
But yes, it's a difficult language. It's not easy, but yeah, I'm continuing learning it. Anyway, so I would like to add here that learning a new language is never a bad idea. You can, in fact, start right now itself, because there are many free applications which help you to understand the language, like basic words, but like greeting people, or going to a shop and ordering things. From my personal experience, it will definitely come in handy when you come here in Antwerp. It will make your life much easier. It's not that people don't speak English, they speak English, but yeah, if you know the local language, you feel more welcome, then life is more easier. And apart from that, as Kim already mentioned, that if you are planning to go for a career here in Belgium, it's really important for you. That is, I'm speaking that of my personal experience. Life is much more easier, and the language open many doors for you. If it's Dutch or French, at least one of them would be really helpful to make your way around here in Belgium. And Atlas is like a very good option. I would definitely recommend to do that, because along with the language, they also offer you the integration course, which really gives you insights in the system here in Belgium, how things work, and you will know a lot after that. So that's my advice for the language.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think it's indeed very valuable. Learning a new language, like Arpan said, is always a good idea. It will come in handy, and it's always nice that you can talk with our students, with our Belgian students, for example, a little bit of Dutch words. They will definitely appreciate it. Okay, let's switch to some practical information upon arrival in Belgium. So we're looking a little bit into the future, but we already wanted to share this with you. To be more specific, this information will also be given to you via emails in the coming months. So you will receive monthly newsletters, and our International Students Office will also be organizing more detailed information sessions and webinar. But we already wanted to give you like a brief overview that might be helpful if you're already planning ahead. So one of the first things actually that you need to do when you arrive here in Antwerp is to apply for your residence permit. So actually you need to do it within 8 days after you arrived here in Belgium. You need to start your application for a residence permit. You don't need to do it all by yourself. The University of Antwerp assists students who will be living in Antwerp or in one of the districts in Antwerp. But we ask you to do it as soon as possible, because it takes a while before you get your residence permits. In the meantime, you will get like a temporary one, but it might take up to 2 months before you receive your official residence permits. All information as per country is collected on our website, so there you find information on the residence permit and also on how you can start your application together with the University of Antwerp. Another thing that is quite important is the health insurance. So as an international student here in Belgium, it's mandatory to have a health insurance. And that's partly because actually here in Belgium, we have a very good healthcare system. So it's of a very high quality, but it is also quite expensive if you don't have your health insurance. So if you have a health insurance and you pay a fee for your health insurance, then the costs will be always, if you go to the doctor, for example, the cost will be reimbursed partly. So that means that it's actually very affordable if your health insurance to go to a doctor or a hospital. But imagine that you need to go to a hospital and you don't have your health insurance, and it will cost you a lot of money. That is why it's mandatory to have a health insurance. Students from the European Economic Area, they need to apply for a European health insurance card from their own health insurance provider before they travel to Belgium. Students from outside the European Economic Area, they need to register by one of our Belgian health insurance providers. So there are many options that you have. There's a list on our website. Having your health insurance and getting everything installed is only possible when you're here in Belgium. So you'll need to visit the healthcare and health insurance provider. You need to visit them in order to register yourself. And that is why we advise you for the first days or first weeks here in Belgium and for traveling to Belgium to also get travel insurance. So that's in order to make sure that for the first days, the first weeks that you're here, that you have a health insurance until you have your official and final health insurance here in Belgium. Another thing is your bank accounts, and it's also very important because it's very handy. It's definitely something you'll need when arriving here in Belgium, is to have your own bank account and your cards to make your payments. Most banks will require you to have a residence permit, which actually already also means that you can only do it when your residence permit is in and when you're here in Belgium. There's one bank, and that's KBC, and KBC allows students to open a bank account prior to arrival in Belgium. That actually means that you don't need to have your residence permit yet. So it's very handy. You'll have to apply for it online via the website, but that also allows you to already have your bank account ready when you arrive here in Belgium. Also, information on the bank account, more specific information and options will also be given during the welcome week. But if you'd like to take care of it up front, you might want to check the option of KBC. Then again, I also want to talk with you about the COVID-19 situation here in Belgium, because a lot has changed in the past months. So I think we've had some webinars in the past, but it changes so quickly that we need to inform you step by step. And actually, if we take a look at the situation today, we can be quite optimistic. So we see these days that less than 1,500 confirmed infections per day on average are taken here in Belgium. And the figures, they continue to decrease. So we actually see that our vaccination strategy is really kicking off. We see that nearly 55% of the adult population here in Belgium have had at least one injection, so one shot of the vaccination. So that's actually very positive. And it's actually today, so it's a really special day today here in Belgium, because as of today, there are more options for the bars and restaurants to stay open later, to receive more people. We also were informed that festivals this summer, that they are taking place, of course, with appropriate measures. So that also means that it's not the same like it was 2 years ago, but still there will be a lot of options during the summer already to have more social contacts, to get in touch with others, and to go and have a good time. So that's actually all very positive news from our part. So we are doing quite good, but we need to stay focused and we need to stay careful, of course, because we know that COVID-19, we cannot really predict what it will do in a few weeks or in a few months. But in the meantime, vaccinations are continuing. And we see that now it's more focused on the elderly people from the healthcare sector and the adults, but we will also switch to younger people in the coming weeks. So that's also very good news. And then our academic year, how does it look like? Yes, so we will start our academic year in September. The 27th of September is the official start of the academic year. But we invite you to arrive a little bit earlier here in Belgium, because the week before that is the International Welcome Week. That's a week that is specifically dedicated to international students, in which you will receive information, very practical information, like, for example, on the healthcare system, like, for example, on bank accounts, opening a bank account in Belgium, the school system, how the exams work, etc. But it's also a moment to network, to get in touch with other international students, a lot of social activities. So it's a very important week, and we really strongly recommend you to attend the week and to be present then already a little bit before the start of our academic year. Our first semester runs from September until the end of December. Then in December, we have a 2-week holiday break. Then we celebrate Christmas, we celebrate New Year, but it's also a time for you to start studying, because in January, the month of January, you will have your exams. You see here the number 4, that's the number of weeks, of course. So the whole month of January is exam time. So you'll have your exams in January, and then in February, beginning February, you will have 1 week of holidays. So that gives you a little bit time to recover from your exam session in January. Then our second semester starts, and our second semester runs from February until April. And then we have a 2-week Easter holiday break in April scheduled. So there's 2 weeks of holidays, no classes, but I think also a perfect time to work, for example, on your thesis, and of course to discover a little bit Belgium and to travel a little bit, of course, as well. Then we continue the second semester from April until the end of May. And then we have our second exam session. So the second exam session is scheduled in June. We have 5 weeks of exam. That is 1 week more. And that is because you also have your thesis defense. Normally you can finish your thesis in 1 academic year. And then you'll need to defend your thesis the last week of June. If everything goes well, and if you pass all your exams and your thesis from the first time, then you have a nice holiday break. Yeah, so we have a very big holiday break. But imagine that you fail 1 or 2 courses or more courses, or that you don't participate in the thesis defense in June. Well, in that case, we have the resit exams. These are scheduled in August, September. So that would actually mean that you can, if you fail a course in January or June, that you can redo the exam during the resit exam session in August, September. So that gives you another exam chance. And that might be helpful for you if you, for example, postpone 1 or 2 courses or the thesis. For the start of our academic year, so we start the 27th of September, and for the moment, as the COVID situation is improving, we will continue our classes on campus. So that is actually what is scheduled, and there will be a communication about it as soon as everything is like set up. But classes will take place on campus, which means that we expect you to be here by the start of the academic year. So we expect you to be here in Antwerp. So we will have on-campus classes. Of course, we've had a lot of experience with blended learning the past year. But we also use blended learning approaches in the past. So we try to use it whenever it's very efficient, and that's also what we will continue to do. So you will have on-campus classes, but there will also be some blended learning approaches during some of the courses that you will have. We expect all of you to be present here by the start of the academic year. But of course, we take into account that there might be some issues still with some countries that would have travel restrictions, or students that would have visa issues because of the COVID situation. And for these students, there is a very strict deadline of being here in Antwerp by the 1st of December. But it's only possible after consultation with the faculty. So we expect everyone to be present physically here by the start of the academic year. Only students that are experiencing issues with their visa or travel restrictions, they can contact us via the help desk and via the Master FBE. And then we can follow up your situation, but we have a very strict deadline to be present by the 1st of December. And as I was mentioning, we have our vaccination strategy that is actually kicking off. We see that a big part of our population already received a first vaccination. Also for you international students, if you come to Belgium and if you don't have your vaccination yet, or if you only had your first vaccination, there will be a possibility to get a vaccination here in Belgium. This will be based on your residence permits. So that would actually mean that you need to follow the vaccination strategy as it is scheduled here now. So in Belgium, we work with age groups. So we started with the highest age groups and then we go lower each time. So to give you an idea, I'm 30 years old, but I normally am scheduled to have my vaccination by the end of the month, beginning July. So I think that most of you are a little bit younger, so that would actually mean that you just go into the vaccination strategy whenever you arrive here in Belgium. For students that already got their first vaccination in their home country and need a second shot, there is also a possibility to get that one here in Belgium, but only if you got one of the vaccines that is also used here in Belgium, which means we work with Pfizer, Moderna, there are more of them. I think that's a link and put them in the chat because I a little bit of blackout. But
Johnson, AstraZeneca.
Yeah, thank you, Erpan. Voila. These are the vaccines that are used here, the vaccination strategy here in Belgium. So if you get your first vaccination already, and if you get one of these vaccines, you can get your second one also when you are here in Antwerp. So that would mean that for international students, you can also have your vaccination here. Students from the neighboring countries, like the Netherlands, Germany, they are asked to go back to their home country to get their vaccination, if possible. And I already mentioned it, we have our welcome week, which is for us quite important, for you definitely very important, because in that week you will receive a lot of information on living and studying in Antwerp. There will be social events. This week is scheduled from Monday the 20th until Friday the 24th of September. Last year, the Welcome Week could take place on campus as well. You see a picture here. So it was in smaller groups. We needed to wear our face masks during the activity, but it was actually a very nice opportunity to already network a little bit. We would definitely recommend you to attend the Welcome Week. Do keep in mind a possible quarantine. So it depends a little bit on the country you're coming from, but it might be that you have to go in quarantine. So that is why we would advise you to already come like 2 weeks up front so that you're definitely out of quarantine and can participate in the Welcome Week. The information on the website will be updated soon so that you have already a schedule of what the Welcome Week will be all about and how you can register for the Welcome Week. And then in that way, we can start a very exciting year, hopefully. It will be a year where you learn a lot, have a lot of courses, get new insights in different topics, but we also want to work next to that on your personal development. There will be, for example, a workshop on intercultural communication in the beginning of the year, so that you have a lot of tools and insights that you can use during the year when you need to work in group works, when you have classes with students from different nationalities, for example. We will be also doing some workshops, some courses on doing academic research. We have our career development track in which we prepare you actually for looking for a job, in which we give you insights in how to write a good CV, how to prepare for an application interview, job application interview, and so on. Next to that, there will be also some networking and social events scheduled. So we will make sure that there are some cultural and business trips in which you can attend so that you can get to know the city of Antwerp, some companies, like for example, the Port of Antwerp, which is the second biggest port of Europe and is also very interesting for you as business students to learn a little bit more about. There are events scheduled, like a potluck event in which we share food with each other. There's a Christmas event and so on. So we're very much looking forward to scheduling this year again for all of you. And then, of course, we would like to stay in touch with you. And I think that's a very important aspect. You'll start preparing your stay here in Antwerp and in Belgium. And if you would have any questions in the meantime, we would really like to help you with that. There's a lot of information on the website, but you can also contact us via email, or you can book a one-on-one meeting with me, for example. We would also like to recommend you to join our Facebook group. As I told you in the beginning of this session, in our Facebook group, we will become more active. We will share more insights with you, more information that might be valuable. So we definitely recommend you to keep an eye on the Facebook group. And also in order to get to know fellow students, maybe already network a little bit, that might be very interesting. Our international students office will also be sending you a monthly newsletter. So I think it will start from July onwards. They will send you a newsletter on specific topics that are of interest for international students, like student housing, like getting your residence permits, and etc. So you'll receive a monthly instruction on a specific topic of interest. And our international students office is also organizing some webinars, the 13th of July and the 28th of July, in which they will give you very practical and more detailed information on some of the topics that I covered today a little bit already broadly, but they will go more into detail. So it might be very valuable to attend one of these webinars as well. And then I think I can stop sharing my screen and look for any questions. And I see in the chats that there are already some questions here. I see Christine already answered one. I see a question from Cecilia. I'm Chilean, but I have a long stay permit in the Netherlands. Do I need to apply for a student visa? I expect to live in the Netherlands officially. Maybe Cecilia, would that mean that you would stay in the Netherlands when you're studying here in Antwerp, or?
Hello, yes. I think I can go every day because I live in the border between Belgium and the Netherlands.
Yeah. So you are planning to stay in the Netherlands in that case, and I think it's possible. I also live very close to the border with the Netherlands, so I take the train each day. It's a commute of about 25 minutes for me. I'm not sure what it will be for you, but of course, if you have a long stay permit for the Netherlands, I don't think that you'd need a student visa, unless, Christine, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But if you have your long-term stay for the Netherlands, and if you will be living in the Netherlands, that would mean that you don't need to have your visa for Belgium.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hi, Cecilia. I'm looking for information, but I don't think indeed that you would need to apply for a visa. But I will get back to you either today or otherwise tomorrow in an email to have accurate information for you. Okay?
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, and then I see also share the link of the Facebook group. We will definitely do that. So you will be receiving an email, I think, tomorrow. So you will get a recording of this session. So we will share with you the recording of the session. We will also give you the presentation, and there will be a link to the Facebook group. So that might be you'll be able to join the Facebook group then. And Celine already posted it, so here we go. And there's another question from Marie. I'm going to go through it. Your question is a proof of payment of the contribution fee. I'm not sure whether that would be the tuition fee that they are talking about. Either way, if you apply for your visa, you also have to pay an administrative fee. So it might be that they are talking about. So if you apply for your visa, you have to pay an extra fee. to the visa office, and that's called like an administrative fee. So it might be that with proof of payment of the contribution fee that they mean the administrative fee. So maybe you can check that, Marie-Christine, and if it's like another thing, if it's not really clear, please send us an email and then we can try to help you with that. Any questions? You can also ask Arpan a question, of course. He's here for his insights in living in Antwerp, in Belgium. So if you would have any specific questions on that, don't hesitate to ask them here as well. And you can also just unmute your microphone. You don't really need to use the chats. Any questions? A good question. Is it possible to know the number of students for the economic policy program? Well, at the moment, we don't really know yet, because we are waiting for the letters of acceptance to be downloaded. And as I told you, the registrar's office receives a lot of documents these days, so it might take a while. And especially for the economic policy program, we always have a large inflow of Belgian students as well. So the business economics program, we see that there are a lot of international students, like a rather smaller amount of Belgian students. But for the economic policy program, we have a very big influx of Belgian students. So it's difficult to already give you a number now, but I think that might be something that we can do in the upcoming months. And then you have to keep in mind as well, of course, you have your letter of acceptance, but there are not everybody enrolls from the 1st of July onwards. So that is also an aspect why we cannot really give you a number yet. So you can enroll for the master program from the 1st of July onwards. So it will be difficult to give you like a hard number, but I think like this year there were like 20 students from economic policy in total, to give you an idea. Question: until the 1st of November, can we pay the tuition? Can we pay for tuition fee of the university? So you'll be invited to pay the tuition fee when you do your enrollment. I would advise you to do it as soon as possible, because you only have access to Blackboard, to CISA, and so the possibility to compose your study program if you paid your tuition fee. So I would advise you to do it as soon as possible. As I told in the presentation, it's also possible to make an application to pay your tuition fee in installments, so that you don't have to pay the tuition fee all in one. So if you would experience some issues on that regard, I would definitely advise you to apply for the installments so that you can pay the total fee in different installments. Question from Lucio, Italian citizen. Yeah, so if you have Italian citizenship, Lucio, I think indeed that you will have a reduced tuition fee, so that you pay 900 euros instead of the 5,800 euros. So that would already be quite a big reduction. There are, of course, when you're here in Antwerp, you can look for a student job, for example. There are some possibilities here. Keep in mind that the study program, the master's program, is also a full-time program. So you need to look for a student job that you can combine with your studies. We have some students, for example, that work like 1 day a week, or that work in the weekends in order to get some extra money to pay for their living costs here in Belgium. Important to keep in mind as well, if you would have some very urgent financial issues, and I think this year with COVID, there were some cases of students that had financial troubles. There's also a department here at the faculty that can help you. But there's like no extra scholarship or something that you can get to get your living costs covered. But maybe Arpan, can you maybe give an idea or share what costs you need to take into account whenever you're living here, and how did you finance it?
For your costs, I would say it's somewhere around 350 to 450 for the rent. You need to be more careful about the accommodation that you're choosing, that all the costs are inclusive or not, because there are additional costs like water, electricity, heating, which will shoot up during the months when you arrive. It's like October, that's the time when winter starts, so you'll have to take those costs into consideration as well. Apart from that, I would say it also depends on your lifestyle, like if you like to go out, eat outside, and do some leisure activities on the weekends. It also depends on that how much you spend. So somewhere around 750 to 800 is a good budget for a student for a month.
Yeah, I think that's indeed a very good idea. We also have a blog post of one of our current students on our website, where you can get more insights and information on what the cost of living is whenever you're here in Antwerp. So definitely worth to go through it. And then I see a question about the letter of acceptance, and I think that's if you already send your hard copy documents, when they are checked by our registrar's office, so they check the documents on authenticity, and when they are checked and when they are approved, you will receive your letter of acceptance. And it will be available via Mobility Online. So you need this letter of acceptance, for example, when you need to apply for your visa for students from outside the European Economic Area, but you'll also need your letter of acceptance to start your enrollment process. So whenever your hard copies arrived at the registrar's office and when they are checked and approved, well, then you will receive your letter of acceptance and you can start your enrollment. Yeah, and I think I already answered the questions of Hans as well. Are there any limited places for the majors and minors? It's a very good question. No, so for the major and the minor, there are no limitations on number of students that can attend. I think within the major and minor of European and international integration, there's like one course. There's one course where there is a limited number of participants because it's really about writing papers, writing papers in teams. So therefore, there's a limitation, but for all the other courses and definitely the majors and minors, there's no limitation. So do take your time. To make a well-founded decision on which major or minor to choose. You can go to the movies that we have on the website, but also go through the courses. You have an overview of all the courses that you have in the major and the minor, and it might be very interesting to go through them, to read them in detail, to make your final decision. Okay, yeah, and I see that Celine also posted about the blog that we have about the cost of living, so that you have an idea of what you need to take into account to live here in Antwerp and live in Belgium. Of course, it's very depending on your personal situation. And I think that's also what Arpan mentioned. If you'd like to go out a lot in the weekends or something, and then, of course, you need to take into account a little bit more, but the blog gives you a good impression on what you might expect. And I'll share the link with you again, Lucio, so that you can, so that you can read it again. Okay, are there any further questions at the moment? If there are no further questions at the moment, I would definitely advise you to join our Facebook group. We will keep in touch with you via Facebook, but also, of course, if there would be any questions popping up, contact us via email. We will be very happy to welcome you. Yeah, Tommaso, I haven't heard about the time the registrar's office needs for screening the hard copy documents. We are now a little bit in a situation because we're approaching the deadline, of course, where they receive a lot of documents and a lot of information. So that might create a little bit of a bottleneck, and it might also be that it takes a little bit of time before your documents are screened, before your documents are handled, and before you'll receive your letter of acceptance. So do take into account a little bit of time for that. If you're really worried, or if you don't hear anything after a very long period, you can of course contact us, but do take into account that it takes some time now because we are approaching the deadline and there are many students waiting. So if you send everything, and it might also, I think that a lot of students, if they send us their hard copy documents that they work with, like an agent, that they already get a proof of acceptance here. So that might be a first thing, but to hear something from our registrar's office, do take into account a couple of days. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for being present today. I think it's very interesting also to hear your questions, because it's very informative for us, and we know what kind of information you need. So we will be giving you all the information. We'll be very transparent as soon as we have, like, for example, a better idea of how the academic year will look like and how we will start everything. We will get in touch with you again. So keep an eye on your email in the coming months, because we'll try to reach out as much as possible. And I hope that all of you are doing well. We're looking forward to meet you in person, and keep in touch, of course. So thank you very much. And also thank you, Arpan, for being present today. It's always nice to have our own students present. So thank you very much as well.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And guys, in case if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to me via Unibuddy. When you go to the website, you will see the link there. If you feel like asking any questions about the city, student life, and language, or anything else, you can, you're surely, you can reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Arpan. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.